So we're just setting up stage for our next panel discussion. This is about the future of commerce and consumption. We heard a little about the future of commerce and consumption from a speaker in the first half of the day. Now we do a deep dive with some keen marketing minds, business leaders, and entrepreneurs. To moderate this discussion, we have a seasoned ad man who has turned entrepreneur with multiple hats, or should we say, colorful turbans. There are some professionals who are cut out to deliver results and numbers for brands. There are some who ensure that the work also raises the creative and innovation bar to catalyze and multiply the results. Mr. Mandeep Malhotra, our moderator, is from the latter breed. From selling washing machines to tossing pizzas to serving as the ex CEO of the social street, Mr. Malhotra's journey has been a celebrated one. He now dons multiple hats. He is a consultant to brands and businesses, a serial investor in communications related ideas and businesses, and a facilitator helping brands digitize to drive growth. Mr. Malhotra's confidence in enabling growth for brands stems from over 25 years of experience, strategic media planning, business development, and client relationship management that increases business acumen. A staggering 200 plus awards that he has been at the receiving end of with teams across agencies is what he has to show for the years. These include the prestigious Canis Lions, DN Ad Pencils, Abbeys, and MBs. He has contributed to some of the most talked about case studies in India across promotions, activation, outdoor, and media. The affable adman's expertise straddles digital strategy, marketing management, customer relationship management, event management, OOH, and media relations. He advises for successful brand implementation and campaign design, corporate communication, experience design, content solutions, media planning, buying, analytics, and reporting topped with execution capabilities. Please join us. Welcome, Mr. Malhotra.
So I wish my kids were here. You know, when I asked them to wake up early, शायद इतनी इज्जत मिली नहीं घर पे कभी. But I wish they were here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Joining him are our esteemed panelists today. We have Mr. Chandru Kalro, Managing Director, TTK Prestige. Mr. Kalro's journey at TTK Prestige began in '93 as product manager, where he was recognized and a high potential manager grew to general manager marketing in 2 years. His work here was inspired by his biggest passion in life, that is cooking. When the company was in trouble and turned loss making in 2003, he formulated a high growth strategy, challenging every norm, and played a key role in envisioning and transforming the company to where it is today. Today, TTK Prestige has grown from 113 crores top line in 2003 to over 2,500 crores in financial year 22. Welcome on board, Mr. Kalro. Joining us next is Smita Murarka, Chief Marketing Officer, Duroflex. Smita is a result-driven international brand marketer with about 2 decades of experience building brands in the fashion and lifestyle industry. She comes with diversified experience in managing functions of marketing, business strategy, e-commerce, product and range management, sales and ops, and business development. She has proven track record in working with global brands across categories of apparel, accessories, footwear, handbags, and many more. Welcome on board, Smita. Our next panelist today is Geeta Lobo, Chief Client Officer, Ipsos, India. Geeta has been working on marketing problems and helping clients make informed decisions over the last 2 decades. She has worked extensively across sections and has been providing insights on consumer and shopper behavior. Please join us. Welcome, Geeta Lobo. And our next panelist is Anshul Sharan, co-founder and CEO Elever. Anshul is an IIT and IIM alumnus with 14 plus years of diversified experience in strategy, product, risk, and operations. He leads the Elever team towards its vision of improving a customer's lifestyle by creating an affordable and personalized goal based investment app. Please join us, welcome all our panelists. We'd like to also inform you, Mr. Rishi Sharma, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Zolo. He was supposed to be here with us today, but he's not well, and that's why he couldn't make it. With this, we'll hand it over to our moderator. Please join us welcoming them once again, please.
Good evening. It's very tough task to follow Bhaskar Das, but I think this is the first time I've seen him in polite colors. He's as vibrant as me, so I'm feeling a little more relaxed. Thanks for being here. If the people in the back want to come ahead, you're most welcome to. It'll help you, hear us out a little better. We had thought of doing a 2-minute intro for all of us, and I think the wonderful lady here has done the job already. So we are going to jump in straight on questions. Um, the life has changed for all of us, and we know this. And over, the sessions have sort of spoken about it. What we want to do today is to try and figure out and have a conversation around what's future holding for us. We know the past. We've all gone through the last 2 years. We know how the journey has, but we will be taking digs on past and present as well when we talk about future, because you have to have some benchmarks. So I'll just give you a couple of pointers before I start asking my thoughts, and we will keep it a little interactive. Instead of waiting towards the end for raising a hand, please feel free to raise a hand on that particular topic. My only request to all the audience is keep it crisp and to the point, so that it's a healthy interaction. So you know the last year that went by, and we all thought that economies were not really on top of it. Maybach decided to allot 60 Maybachs to India, and within 18 hours, all these 60 cars were sold. Within 18 hours, 60 Maybachs were sold out. Yeah. We all know that most of our friends in the Chinese handsets are going through thousands of crores of issues as we speak. So I think there is a huge potential in the country that we are in, and that is why all these international brands keep digging on to us. If you just to have a really macro number, you know, uh, we are a nation of 3.3% of the world economy, 17% of the world population, and from a geographic point of view, we are 7% of world's area. So we aren't like the largest in a few things, but we are very tempting in a lot of things, largely being 17% of world population. Therefore, you will see brands and marketeers and businesses all heading where the sun rises. So my first question to my client, ex-client and dear friend is, sir, in the next 5 horizons, you know, what do you think will change from a brands and marketeers perspective? We have seen a lot of changes already. If you look at fintech in the last 5 years, I don't think I've seen enough changes that fast in any solutions than in fintech, which has happened. But from a brand and marketeer point of view, and you hold a fairly large share of kitchen on almost every Indian household. So, what do you think next 5 years is going to change from a brand and marketeer point of view?
Thanks, Mandeep. Some words come into mind whenever I think about this, some common themes. So, one thing that now recently come into my mind is hybrid. So, everything seems to become hybrid these days, whether it's a car, whether it's the way you do business and commerce. So, they are talking omni-channel is an hybrid model. distribution is becoming hybrid. There are no lines that we knew before. Ki, yeah, this is your territory, this is this territory, this is this state. GST is built, demolished all the state boundaries. Channel boundaries are getting demolished, they are getting further demolished. Today, if you have a distribution strategy that was 5 years old, believe me, you are outdated completely. The way to reach a customer today has changed so much that every day we are looking at ourselves and saying, am I able to reach where the customer is going or not? And I think that's the biggest thing that comes into the mind. And reaching the customer where the customer is going has become paramount in any marketer's mind. If the customer is going digital, you go digital. If the customer is going offline, you go offline. There is no one strategy. Unfortunately, therefore, it's dividing marketers into various pockets as they are devising a strategy. And it's becoming more and more important, almost not just at the CMO level in a company, but even the CEO level in a company, for someone to put this all together to see the big picture. And that's why today you will find CEOs getting more and more into the digital strategy, the marketing strategy, the way people are interacting and giving experience to their customers. So things are getting complicated. All I'm saying is everything is going to constantly change at a much faster pace. And for everyone who is working through this, the need to upskill, reskill, and reinvent almost on a yearly basis has become critical. That's what I think is changing. Because otherwise, you are going to be outdated very quickly.
So, sir, largely what you're saying is hybrid is the name of the game. So it's not going to be a singular medium. It's gone are the days when a brand was used to sit on a pedestal. Now you're saying brand is just following the consumer wherever he or she is going, and the brand's just going to follow that. You're saying every year will be an evolution from a brand's point of view or a marketeer's point of view. You can't really do the yesterday years. When the books we used to study, plan for 3 years, gone are those days. Gone are those days. So I totally hear you out, sir. And Smita, I'll ask you on the similar lines. You represent a brand called Duroflex. Now, do you sort of tend to agree that the consumer, because procurement cycle at your end is not that quarterly. You don't buy a mattress, let me go and change a mattress every 3 months. So it's a longer journey or gestation of all the efforts that you put in as a marketeer now. While as you may be as a business be following a quarterly number or a quarterly social objective that you may have set out for yourself, but you have a justification period which is years and plus. So how do you see the next 5 years, or if 5 years is too long, next 5 months, how do you see the, from a consumer's window, while I said spoke about from a marketer's point of view, from a consumer's window, what should the consumer expect from, and you can take Duroflex examples or any other examples if you deem fit. So what should he see the change in the next 5 months or 5 years?
Yeah, see, at Duroflex, last 2 years have been transformational. COVID aside, very positively. So, as a business, we have more than doubled our business in a pandemic, in a commodity like business. We call ourselves a sleep solution company now, but essentially, mattress has been our core product portfolio. In a country like this, sleep is something we don't take very seriously. The reason maybe many of you are napping right now or not listening is you've not slept properly in the night and you've not given it much importance. So that's really what brands like us are doing. We really think, and going by both the examples of what both of you gave, India as a market today is a marketer's paradise, because most of the categories are underserved in terms of the right product offering, the right conversations, or even making a connect with consumers, right? So if you take the category that we belong to, uh, even a 10,000 rupee does not come out of the consumer's pocket easily. That consumer might be carrying an iPhone worth over a lakh, right? So it's not that the consumer doesn't have the potential to pay. brands have not made sense to the consumer, or they've not heard enough, whatever the reasons in the past may be. Today, consumers are taking all areas of their life seriously, with the younger generations coming in, which are more digitally savvy, geographically, more aligned. So today, a consumer in a tier 2 who's 28-year-old thinks no differently of brands than somebody who's in Bangalore or a Bombay, right? So all the excuses that we had as brands or marketers or leaders to reach to the consumer has gone, and it's really a playground for good thinking, good products, good solutions to reach to their right consumer. So from a consumer's perspective, they are more demanding today, right? And as you said, 5 years is 5 decades. Who knows what comes next? I mean, last 2 years have changed the way we live our lives, the way we think about everything, right? So 5 years are important, from making your business stable enough, technically savvy enough. I think that's a no go, that your business thrives on digital ecosystem now, and that's what will keep you running, keep you evolving, keep your foundation strong. But you really need to understand the mood of the consumer, maybe even on a daily basis, because in pandemic the mood was changing daily, right? From lockdown to should you go out, should you wear a mask, I mean everything, the consumer was changing on a daily basis. And at that point our learning came out very strongly that if you're able to connect with the consumer sentiment daily, you can really evolve as a business. So for us, when business went to zero, we were not selling anything. We were just talking to consumers real data points, that sleep impacts immunity, sleep impacts efficacy of vaccination when the vaccination drive started. How do you sleep better? What is the aids? So things like that really brought in the honesty of our brand without business. So net, it's very important for brands to evolve beyond product also, even if they're a product brand, to really give a purpose and a solution from consumers' point of view, and connect all your offerings. And that may also lead to your product itself evolving. So today, we are going beyond mattresses. We are selling mattress protectors, accessories, bedroom solutions, which is much beyond just a mattress, right? And we were able to do it just because we didn't think mattress first. So it's very important, you should understand what is the solve you are bringing to a consumer's lives, whether it's a home, whether it's something which is mentally there, physically or financially, as he would agree. But it's important to connect with that at a very individual level. If you're just a product business or just a offering business, then the time is limited for the future.
Excellent. So, largely, what from a consumer point of view, is saying that he or she has become very demanding now. Yeah, and I'm assuming it's either the knowledge that's easily available, therefore, people want to know more about. I remember first mattress, I never knew thickness kitni honi chahiye mattress ki. But now, obviously, the knowledge base is something that's. And from a brand's perspective, you're saying because he has become very demanding, you have to think out of just a product. मैंने बना दिया, दुकान खोल दिया, आ जाओ, लेना होगा तो ले लेना, नहीं लेना होगा तो कोई बात. But you're thinking consumer first, the entire journey. So that's a very interesting point. And I think I will move the mic to Geeta. You know, consumer is become the my baap, right? And I remember when I was a young executive, and he was far more younger as well. So I used to go with various ideas, and he only had 4 or 5 decisions to make, right? This time I will put this much money in TV because I have a beautiful film जो बीवी से करे प्यार वो प्रेस्टी से कैसे करे इनकार, and that was beautiful, inciting at that point of time. Life was easier. We used to go home at 5:36, चाय पीते थे रास्ते में, कभी कभी बियर भी पी लेते थे. But now that the consumer has become God, literally, figuratively speaking, from a brand's point of view, there is so much of data that's thrown out, right? And for for people who take these decisions almost on the go of putting where their money or their mullah is to go, because either you're building stories around the brand or the consumer, or you're there selling a product. The data is so much. Is it confusing or complementing, is my first question. And then my second question to you is, what has really changed? Why can't, life be so simple for marketeer? Why is consumer becoming so hyper? Some views from all your learnings on a data point of view, please.
Yes, so Mandeep, I'm going to actually answer your second question first, right? I mean, we researchers tend to be a little perverse like that. And I'm going to refer back to what you said in the beginning, right? One of the factoids you shared, right? India's population, right? Uh, Now, if you think about what is different now, demographics are slower changing phenomena. But the reality is, if you look at India's population, soon we are going to have the largest concentration of youth anywhere in the world. I mean, there are countries which have large populations, but they are on an average age. I mean, China's median age is a decade higher than India's age. So you can just imagine that, the largest concentration of youth here. And if you think about youth, what does it really mean? And why is it that, I mean, that in a way helps you understand the complexity that we all are coping with, right? Youth stands for change. Youth is curious. Youth is willing to learn. Youth also has a very long time horizon. So they are willing to invest, willing to adapt, willing to change. So that is what will keep the environment complex, because most of us who haven't been digital natives will appreciate that, right now at this point in time, 25% of our population have been born into you know an economy which is where the grammar is touch based connectivity. That's what they've known all their life. So the way they respond to the environment, the way they think, the way they sort of process information, all that is going to be different. And if we in a way, the first principles remain the same, but if we think of the sort of environment in a very simplistic way, we'll miss out much of what is happening. It's far more dynamic because the entity who's interacting is getting more and more complex, is evolving as we go along. So there is that element that the youthfulness brings in, right? And if you think about it, it's not just that the environment has become complex. Some of this complexity is also because that is accessible to us. I mean, there's a huge amount of data that ostensibly we can gather, right? But can we make sense of it? Can we sort of parse through it in a way that, we know what to pay attention to, what not to? That's becoming more and more difficult, AI ML notwithstanding. See, there is still that human judgment that is needed along the way. So I mean, in our observations about consumers, I mean, we say we look at consumers, societies, markets. That's our job. The complexity is truly increasing. The world is much more complex, but the positive news is that with this complexity, the solutions are also going to come from the same kind of milieu or generation, and therefore we kind of expect to see many new thinking, innovation, be it like Chandru mentioned, hybrid approach, hybrid thinking, or even hybrid utilization of information. All this, the exciting stuff is going to happen out of India because of the way we are structured demographically. And that's the hope, and that's one of the big things we'll see start happening in the next.
Sure. So, Anshul, we were just chatting up before the session, and I'm very curious about the offering from your organization, Elever. Elever, you pronounce it right? Elever. So, Elever is saying, if you have money, I will write an algorithm to tell you how to spend that money in the wealth space, how to invest that money. Spend to mujhe aata hoga. So I remember when we were growing up, parents used to say roti, kapda aur makan chahiye. Those were our three social desires or social objectives or social needs. I think the right word is social needs. Now, obviously, there is an evolution from there. Therefore, we need brands, you're saying, like Elever, to come on board and tell us that you have accumulated certain mass of wealth, and we will tell you. on the basis of certain algorithms where to get the maximum return on your investment. So now you obviously work on a lot of data, right? And as Geeta said, also, if just to reiterate, we are around 30 years of age by 2020. Our mean age is 31 years of 27, 28 years. Mean age of our country by 2020, 2030 is going to be 27, 28. And China is around a decade, so 31, 32. US is around 40 as we speak now. So we are a very young audience. पर ये young audience के पास तो wealth है नहीं. तो हम ये data इतना सारा churn कर रहे हैं. We are making so much algorithms. From, are they really wanting to know so much about themselves, or are we marketeers or brand managers thinking a little too ahead of the curve that tomorrow when they have wealth, we will tell you where to spend and how to spend? Or are you really gunning after the elderly in the organizations who've amassed those wealth after property investment that they've done?
So, I think before I answer that, I think I want to talk one thing specifically. Before we started this venture, we actually did a lot of research talking to people across the age, right? And rightly said by you, the people who are above 50, they always think that they want security, they want salmon and all those things, right? But as you come to the millennials, or I don't know, like 25, 30 years old, they are not looking from that long term, right? None of them are actually thinking from that perspective. They all are thinking that I want to go for a trip. How do I go there, right? I want to buy an iPhone. How do I plan for that? You have right now lending as a mechanism to buy all those things, but slowly a change is happening that people are also thinking to plan and then buy, right? So there's a coexistence happening between a lending industry and the investment part. So the change decades for that to happen completely, but there's a change happening. Now, what we are doing over here is when we use data, right? What we have understood is, from a customer perspective, yes, everyone is interested to know whether you can tell me something which is suiting me, right? Not a one fit size all product, which generally a distribution platform does, right? So can you do me for that? And that's why people are willing to give you some data point which we can crunch on. At the same time, what we also understood is that a lot of people, like I'm the website, so they need to have some financial literacy also around how to plan ahead. I'm not saying that you need to you need to save everything now. None of them. I never did in the past when I was young, right? But the point is, there's a financial literacy to happen, and from that perspective, what we're doing as a company is not only helping using data to advise on what needs to be done with buying whatever, it can be various financial goals. At the same time, we are also trying to see if we can make the people more literate, not just from using the bank account, but also how to use your money. And recently, I went to a college also, met undergrads over there, and actually tried to explain what is the mechanism. I'm not saying you should start from day one once you step out of the college, but the problem is, though the entire school system, the entire college system teach you what to do, how to make money, but no one tells you what to do with that money, right? So that's what is there, and that is common across. It's not that a 40-year guy will not think. Even 25-year guy also want to save for something else. Priorities are different, but yes, they do.
So you're saying, largely and I totally agree. Our knowledge system or our schooling system tells us, ये वाली पढ़ाई करो, इसमें अच्छा पैसा है. From the years of medical or engineering, or so that's a challenge. I totally register that. The other thing I register out of what you're saying is that if we are talking to the people who are accepting technology and newer forms far more faster, unlike our parents who only made one house and roti kapda makan, they are looking at short term objectives. So therefore the next iPhone 14, which might be at 1.25 lakh rupees, and you want to bring in the discipline of trying to in mass that portion of saving towards the short-term goal and not necessarily the 5 saal बाद क्या होगा.
Correct. So, like every age has a different priority.
Yeah.
I'm not tell a 25-year-old to start planning for retirement, but people will not follow. They will think just thinking.
Sure. So I'm as I said, I'm going to make it a little more interactive because I have a very diversified panel. I have on one end a person who wants to tell you and help you how to spend money, in which form, or how to invest money in which form. Then I have another panelist, Geeta here, who churns the data for a lot of people and says this is how the consumer is behaving. And then I have two avid marketeers who want you to spend stuff buying their product one and similar life cycles, whether it is Duroflex or Prestige, the procurement cycles are not FMCG, they're not very quick. It's a so we discussed on couple of things, and I'm opening this for a Q&A and making it a little more interactive rather than waiting towards the end. So the panel did say that short-term wealth management is one need of the hour, and that's what the millennial is looking at. The hybrid model is here to stay. Most of the brands are now following the consumer. Gone are the eras and time when we brand would sit on a pedestal and expect consumers to come into their end. And obviously, consumer first, and consumer has become very demanding. Therefore, knowledge is something we should in mass for all our consumers. So, any questions on these topics? I'm happy to get the mic across, raise it for you, or then we move on to the next one. Excellent. ऐसी audience होनी चाहिए. Thank you. Okay, so my next question, Geeta, I'll start with you, please. Digital commerce versus in-person retail experiences, and just little bit back into the history, pro 2020 and post 2022. Is there a status quo, or are you seeing a lot of change between digital commerce and in-person retail?
So I think everybody knows, and it's I think it's well established that the pandemic truly changed many things. It sort of accelerated the digital adoption. Things which would have been on slow burn happened at really fast pace, and what that has done, and what we see, what we observe, is the way consumers process, the way their expectations are as they go along any kind of purchase journey, that has been changed completely. So now you see that the offline retail is also responding and trying to build bridges in the digital space, and that's because they are responding to the kind of ways in which consumer shoppers have been in a way permanently changed in their expectation. um, Chandru, you spoke about hybrid, and the truth is, when we speak about omni-channel earlier, Smita was talking about it. See, the reality is that consumer doesn't consciously move from offline to online or any of that. The consumer, she is just living her life and is in the process of navigating different decisions, optimizing things in her life. So in that process, she weaves in and out of offline and online almost seamlessly, right? And what marketers are trying to catch up and replicate is trying to facilitate that journey in a way which is intuitive and natural for the consumer. And that is what I think is spurring a whole lot of discussion, bringing this omni-channel topic into eminence now, because there are some elements of that grammar which have been changed in a way we believe, we see in a permanent sort of a way. The expectations have changed.
So largely, from a media house perspective, you're saying knowledge is the key. If you can make the knowledge as content, monetization could also be a possibility. Is that right to assume?
See, yeah, I mean, that is how you would process it. But if I were to view it from the consumer or the shopper perspective, it's fundamentally about trying to solve different problems in her life, and therefore at a moment of decision, if you are able to be there and provide the right kind of input, you can direct her attention towards you. And the game is all about drawing attention and then holding it for a bit to convince him or her, right? So I think it's trying to follow the consumer in this sort of interwoven spaces. That is the true challenge.
So moment marketing, if you're there at the right time, right place, um, let me ask you, Smita. She said moment marketing, and she comes from a data background, right? She's saying still moment marketing, even though you have those insights of data and the timing and placements can be enabled, but you have to be there on the right place, right moment. For a brand like Duroflex into mattresses, fairly difficult, right? How do you solve that curve? मतलब कैसे पता चले कि इंसान ठीक से सोया नहीं आज?
So I really like the way she put it that consumer is living their life. They want products to solve their problems or solve unmet needs. They are not interested in how you're conducting your business internally. So really making internal business sense, connect with consumers is the key. I would re-articulate moment marketing to really breaking down the journey of the consumer. So for our category, yes, online behavior really got accelerated during pandemic, and today from zero to almost 30% of our business is direct to consumer. Pre-pandemic, we were a trade business with dealers, 100%. So definitely, there's been a huge shift. Why I said D2C and not online? Because our product is an expensive product. It is bought for minimum 12 years in India. We'd like to be 10 years, but 12 years is like the average life cycle of a mattress. And the consumers not across India, across age groups are not going to just convert to online 100%, right? So uh, consumers tried to, the percentage has gone up, but there's still a large chunk of Indians who want to go and touch and feel before they can invest this much money. And so for us, it's important to really break down the journey into discovery, consideration, purchase, awareness, all those stages, and make the right connect sans channel, right? So if we are going to just keep and because we can do that because we're an omni brand, which means we sell as much or we intend to sell online, offline, any channel of consumers choice in the same manner, and our endeavor is to really get closer to that as much. So which means for us channel is not the reason to exist. Unlike some online only brands, then you don't have a choice, right? Your digital is your biggest medium. For us, digital has a huge role in the discovery process because a lot of the TG today is consuming content, knowledge, consumption, a lot online. So for us, discovery is the largest reason why we do digital marketing. But post that, we see the funnel and we see where the consumer really wants to shop. What is the intent? How do they want to understand? So if they want to shop online, we direct them to the website. If they want to go to our stores, we've set up experience centers. So when we were a trade business, we were only dependent on dealer stores with probably not great experience, multi-branded maybe. Today we've set up experience centers because the expectation from the brand has gone up, right? And it cannot be a different experience online and a different so we've set that up. So a lot of our consumers are making up their mind walking in with just 10% nudging at the store of the exact product because our portfolio is quite wide, and that's what the experience centers do. But if they want to buy online, there's an option. If they want to go to their next door neighbor where their dad has bought, their parents have bought, grandparents have bought, we are there as well. So it's important that the brand really understands how they want to relate to a consumer, and marketing's role should be really to articulate it in that stage versus a one size fits all sort of a conversation.
So 30% was e-commerce business.
Direct to consumer, which includes your experience centers as well.
Okay, 30% is direct to consumer. So, and is this like organic growth, or is this eaten into the other part of business as well? Because knowledge has become very important, you said.
So our business has almost 3x in the last 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So clearly it's not eaten into anything. Today, if you look at this category, another thing about market, why I said marketers paradise, if you look at our category, more than 60% is unbranded. So every brand has a room, and that's what we want to do. We want more brands to come in, we want consumers to become branded, and then the real game starts. Today are consumers not even ready to buy a branded product, and not at the bottom of the pyramid, even in the belly and the mid price and premium. As I said, they have no knowledge, right? So cities like Bombay, even Bollywood stars buy unbranded mattresses. So it's as big a problem as that. So there's just such an opportunity to educate the consumer for better brands, and I think this country, all categories can take in more brands, good brands. So as marketers, we should be conscious that only targeting, and we were talking about this outside, right, that our marketing strategy should not be to pull another brand down. It should be to get more consumers into the category, and because there's so much scope to grow.
So Chandru sir, अभी अच्छे से सो लिया अपना. There is a 3x growth in the business. नींद अच्छा आ रहा है. अब जब इंसान उठता है तो भूख लगता है. भूख लगता है तो खाना बनाना पड़ता है. अब खाना बनाने के लिए तो equipment चाहिए. So has your business seen a drastic growth over the last 2 years or 1 year? I would say.
Luckily for us, when the lockdown happened, they had nothing better to do other than cook and eat and sleep.
And
ठीक
sleep.
है ना? So I think we had a good time. And the other thing was that कहीं और खर्चा नहीं करने का. ठीक है? Stock market में पैसा भी बन रहा है. So what do? You can't go out on a holiday. You can't do anything like that. So buy more stuff for the kitchen. And we made sure that we reach them enough through digital, through TV, through whatever. And we had a good time. I mean, we've not grown 3x and all, right? But we grew from something like 1900 crores to 2500 crores, which I call an equivalent of 3000 because we're a large trade marketed company and almost 2.5 months are not there. So you must read the 2,500 crores as 3000 because you lost 2 months really, a little more than 2 months really. So which is 1.5x equivalent, if you might say. So अच्छा खाना अच्छा बना, लोग भी अच्छा खाए, हम भी अच्छा खाए.
So just from a split between retail experience and the offtake on digital, did you see a drastic change?
Actually, I'll tell you, we have gone through like a pendulum. And there's some which we did deliberately, some which we went along with the momentum which was there. Obviously, when there was a lockdown, people could only buy online because we were not in the essentials. People had to buy only online. So the online, which was some 10-11% of our business, went all the way up to 25-27% of our business. And then when the offline opened up, we came back to 17-18. But it was not 11. Now it was 17-18. Now, there is one thing that we as a brand definitely did because we are now almost 70 years old in the business and we've got third generation trade partners with us. And what we said was that given the predatory nature of the pricing online, we decided that we will not support online as much as others did because we didn't want to shortchange our channel partners. Because these are people who have believed in us and I think we should not drop them. 17-18% is online, meaning 82% is offline. So conversely, I am not going to let go of my 82% because of 17-18%. The other thing is, I personally don't like the way online has managed to grow just on pricing. And I have been saying this for the last 5 years, that listen, the concept of value is not low price. The concept of value is everything that online offers to a customer, which is 3 hours, as I say. RRR picture देखी recently तो 3 hours. एक तो research, उससे आपको ratings पता चलते हैं, reputation आपका पता चलता है. You are getting a wealth of knowledge sitting at home, which has changed the way people actually take decisions on what they want to do or buy. So, if that is the case, online is actually doing you a favor by giving you all that information. Why are you underpricing yourself? You know, IKEA came across as a breath of fresh air. They're charging you for deliveries. You come to the store and buy, or we'll send it home to you, but we charge you. Why should reverse logistics be free? Why are you encouraging people to throw back goods? It's costing the people who are selling online huge amounts of money. To what avail? At some day, this valuation versus value game is going to equalize. And at that point in time, you've got people who've burnt a lot of money. Today, I think it is common knowledge that people are buying from Swiggy, knowing that they are paying more than if they would have paid if they had gone and taken a takeaway from the restaurant. I think that is known. That means people are willing to pay that extra money for the convenience of getting a delivery home. Why is Amazon and Flipkart not charging you for delivery? Why is that value? The point is, today, if you ask someone in the marketplace, among the marketplace sellers, I'm not talking about brands like us, but after 7-8 months of selling online, they'll tell you, कुछ नहीं बनाया हमने. पता ही नहीं चला कितना पैसा
नुकसान ही
आया.
है बनाया.
नुकसान. So now if your marketplace seller is not going to make money, how is the business sustainable? And that is why I'm happy that the UPI story, which democratized payments, ONDC hopefully will democratize e-commerce. And when that happens, costs will rationalize, people will buy digital, people will do e-commerce because of the convenience and not because of the price. I'm looking forward to that day.
So I loved you said as a brand, we didn't disown our distributors and retailers. We said you're part of our family. We grew because you helped us grow, and therefore, when there is this new kid called e-commerce around the corner, very gutsy to do. You know, when most of the people on the stage today would say, "Yeah, number one, sab yahan hai," but I'm a fan of yours. I was always, but to go and say that, you know, we decided to not support online as much as we could have is guts to a brand. Obviously, 70 years of legacy, and respect to the thought. But there will be newer indigenous brands which will eat into your space if you don't fight that battle. You don't feel threatened.
No, we are present online.
No,
We are,
as in, you know, if they will be only online. There is a cost to it, right?
obviously, I mean, you have brands like, we have a brand called Lifelong, for example, which is only online. Okay, he's not made a single cent till today. He's got a huge valuation. That's why I said at some day, this value versus valuation game has to come in favor of value and not in favor of valuation. It will happen. On that day, things will equalize.
So Elever is on value or valuation? Tell me. This is a tricky one, huh?
Value.
Value.
We are focusing
ये
on
आज
value.
के लिए कि अपना सच है
हमेशा के लिए.
हमेशा के लिए. Good. So I'm opening again to the next round of questions. You know, we discussed about digital commerce versus in-person retail. Chandru said, as a brand, it's a pendulum journey for them. Logistics being a challenge of physical interaction, they moved into delivery model a lot more, but they're back to sort of a quasi-similar model pre-pandemic. Future could hold anything. I think future could be drone deliveries, but Prestige probably will stick to their distributors managing those drones and delivering.
No, we are doing the hybrid with the distributors.
Okay, excellent.
That's what we want to do. We don't want to ditch them. We want to use the technology and take our partners with us.
So I work with Excite on my day job as well, and I think some of the middle of the belly brands are true to that. They also, like Prestige, said कि ठीक है, there is a margin. We will sell online and at an X price, but the fulfillment will happen from our retailer slash distributor. So there, that's a beautiful hybrid model, if you ask me, and it's a learning for the young startup businesses to keep in mind and hold on to it. So I'm open to questions, if any, till we move to the next one. Any questions on from the panel from digital commerce versus in-person retail? आई विश जब मैं 10th 12th में एग्जाम लिखता था ना, हर क्वेश्चन के वहीं पे सोल्यूशन मिल जाए, एग्जामिनर भी वहीं बैठा हो जी, कोई बात नहीं, चलो ठीक है. Excellent, thanks, lovely audience. Okay, my last question before we sort of cover up for the loss of time or delay we were having, unless there are questions from the audiences. We saw a huge change in the fintech space, right? fulfillment is probably, and sitting here today, I can tell you that my assumption tells me in the next 3 years to 4 years, the entire fulfillment business uh, will bridge the gap of value slash valuation, because valuation will have to start building in value someday. Otherwise, we will see these pop-ups of all the billion-dollar companies like no one has ever seen before. So therefore, if those products have a market, there will be a huge disruption in the fulfillment space, right? Somebody will have to deliver that product to the consumer or the service to the consumer. So, in your expert opinion, what do you think is coming ahead in the next 3 years in the fulfillment space for you as a brand, between you and the consumer? Is there a change expected?
There is a huge change expected. Yeah. First of all, like Geeta said, I mean, I think that millennials have a different level of expectation out of everything. Everything has to come faster, everything has to be immediate. All that is there. And therefore, your channels, your omni channels, and everything else that you will um, construct would be towards achieving that objective for satisfying that customer. But the question is, what defines value? Today, 5 years ago, if you had a damn good quality product, that was value. After that, you said if we had great after sales service, that is value. But today, that is also considered hygiene. A good product with great after sales service is also hygiene. What after that? So today, that concept of constantly engaging with the customer, right from before the purchase happened to right through the ownership of the product. Since we are in durables, I'm speaking this language. And it is going to change in its definition. And I think the customer is going to evaluate you right through that journey, whether you like it or not. Not only evaluate you, but tell others what he thinks of you. So your reputation is being made and broken every day. And therefore, your channels tomorrow have to be tuned to making that engagement such that you are able to retain that customer. Because it's going to be extremely expensive to acquire new customers. And that is what is going to be on everybody's mind when they are going to do things.
So, closing one point answer from a consumer's point of view, what to expect in your own field, what to expect of future changes in their consumption pattern. I'll start from you, Anshul.
So I think one of the change in the investment tech, the wealth tech where I am. So personalization is the key right now. Okay, lot of customers are focusing on those kind of services or products where they are actually uh, thinking from the customer specific needs and not trying to sell a particular product, right? And right now, even many of the customers have the confidence that they can switch service provider very easily. So it's very important and apparent for all the companies, including the Welltech, that we are always with the customer. We understand the customer and personalize the whole experience, and then deliver the service and be on top of it. That's one of the
So, personalization, one word, big one word to wind up is personalized.
Yes.
Geeta, one word.
So, not for my consumers, which are people here, but for their consumers, I think it's experience management, which will be the big thing to solve for. And I think Chandru spoke about it a bit earlier when he said, the millennials need to be consistently engaged.
Smita, one word on
Yeah.
what to look out for.
So personalization and experience definitely top of all our lists as marketers. But the third one, which probably is lesser spoken about, is I really think consumers are expecting dynamism, dynamic appeal in how quickly you resolve their issues, needs, problems, but also in the product, like going out of static products, so maybe tech-based product and everything, or changing products with the same product and everything, right? So more dynamic appeal across the ecosystem is probably the third lever for me.
So, dynamism, right? Sir, one word to wind up from a consumer's perspective, what to look out for.
Empathy. And I think that is very critical. And the customer knows when you're empathetic or you're not.
Excellent. So key takeouts, 4 words. I won't chew in and to a lot of time. Personalization, experience, dynamicism, and empathy. If you have to look forward for a future from a consumer's point of view and a brands that they would want to engage with, I think we should stick to these 4 words: personalization, experience, dynamicism, and empathy. Huge round of applause to my panel. Thank you very much for listening us out. I think there is a website. If you have questions personally, the Media4u team will reach out. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful session. I'll request all of you to please stay back on the dais for another few moments. We have some mementos coming up. May I invite Mr. Anil Hirani, Managing Director of Armor Digital OOH, to please join us on the dais and hand over the souvenirs. That's a souvenir to all our panelists from Medianews4u.com and a wellness gift from Medimix.